This is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, with Erolai, Kreese, and Mark, bringing you all of your Devo news and talk. Welcome to Season 4, the LGBT era. Now let's start the show.
Who's ready for Master Chief and Smash Hype? Woo! No, that was not what we. It's not what we got at E3. Sorry, BC. But there's a fun Halo game coming out that's gonna suck. But for all of us Halo fans, hey, thank you, Raw Life. Unfollowed. You don't like my Master Chief mask? Oh, it's not my fault. I didn't make the game. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 156 of the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. I am Mark, your host, and I'm so glad to be here. We are recording this on June 17th, 2021. I'm not alone. First, let me tell you that Kreese is not with us tonight. Kreese has been having some migraines and is starting some new medication. So hopefully Kreese will be back. But we are back. I was on vacation for the last couple weeks, and so did take last week off. But I am joined by Arrow. Arrow, how are you doing? You are officially streaming on Twitch as well. Not right at this moment, but you have been streaming on Twitch. How's it going?
Oh, it's been great. I've had so much support from people in the community. I have enjoyed doing DFO for you guys live. It was a blast on Tuesday. I did the LC. It was great. And I will be back on Sunday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. with Chrono Trigger on Sundays till I finish. Okay. I've enjoyed it. But I'm learning a lot, and I keep trying to improve things every video, like the appearance and things. I'm still trying to settle in, but I'm enjoying the process so far. Back to you, Mark.
And we are also joined by geriatric millennial Mino Spellgood. Mino, how's it going?
Hey, Mark. I'm in a shit mood today, so I'm taking it out on DissidiaFFOO. There's nothing good to say about this episode, so this is my break from work. This is my stress relief. So no, all these fucking characters are gonna fucking get it.
Yeah, it is. It's a hot week of garbage. That's for sure.
The characters and the events.
Yeah,
Fuck this game.
Definitely the events. Hey, Gerald, thank you for the subscription with Prime. Thank you for everybody who is following us and subbed and all that. We appreciate the support. Thank you for all of us joining online as well through our podcast apps and through the video on demand and on YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, a special moment of privilege. A good friend of the show, 40 the Broadway Saiyan, 40 the Broadway Saiyan, has released a video as of last week, and I've talked to 40, that he is retiring from DFO content on YouTube. He will still be streaming on Twitch occasionally, but with the expectation of their second child, he already has one child, him and his wife, 2 full-time jobs and 2 children, he is going to step away from content creation on YouTube. It's a big deal because 40 was one of the first, if not the first, DFO global content creators on YouTube. He started making videos before the actual game was released. Thank you, CSAM, for the gift sub. We are in a hype train. Thank you, Arrow, for the bits as well. And so send some love to 40. Remember, folks, it's okay to stop making content for a game, but more so than that, games, this is a very niche game in a niche series. And yeah, you certainly can't you certainly can't make a living on this. And so all of us, whether it's Arrow, Mino, Crease, myself, whether it's the Tonberry Troupe, our friends at the Tonberry Troupe, whether it's Macnell at DissidiaFFOO, whether it's Quetzalma, Material About What It's Shara, and the crew there on the official main cord, the official Discord, and main cord, or on and Reddit, excuse me. Who else am I forgetting? Rem at DB, the Compendium, OO Tracker, all these folks are doing this, and not to mention 40 and our other friends who stream, all of our mods, Jin Lee and J.A and Strafe and Ink and all these people, Poto and Black Nero. Yeah, we do this because we enjoy it. Thank you, Dark Demon, for this sub. Compendium. We do this because we enjoy it. We do this because we have a good time doing it. And some of us make a little bit of extra cash, a little bit mad money, and we appreciate that as well. But at the end of the day, we really do. We will miss 40. Wish him the best of luck. But yeah. So does this mean there's a hole for some new kind of content creator? Mino has been saying that there needs to be a new generation of content creators. So what do you think, Mino? Is this an opportunity for somebody else to kind of come up and fill 40's place in content creation?
Why would you ask me that? I said that I'm choosing violence today.
I know, that's why I asked.
If you insist on my opinion, I'm not pulling any punches tonight. I'm in a shit mood. But Broadway, you will be missed. I genuinely feel like the DFFOO community is poor without you. And I only have good things to say about 40 nowadays, honestly. Super generous guy. He gave a lot of people their start, like Jet and stuff, like, donated old hardware for streaming. He shouted people out. He was such a big personality. He also had the only should you pulls that were worth a damn. I know everyone started in the same place where they were just reading off of DB, but I know he took the criticism to heart and really strove to improve his content. And he's the only one who strove to improve his content. And that's why I have nothing bad to say about him, because he genuinely pushed himself. Whereas the criticism that we always throw out is, oh, these guys don't even know what they're talking. They're literally reading it, and then they don't know what they're talking about. 40 took that criticism. He broke it down into his own words instead of just reading it. Then he started throwing in his own gameplay as well, right? To actually showcase the characters, so that, like visual showcase. And he had all the weapons, so he actually had experience with all the characters. And he consulted people who actually played the characters and more knowledgeable CCs. So his content was top of the line. And like I said, the community is poor without him. We're only left with shit content now. Wow, that's going too far. Shit should you pulls. And I really hope other content creators will take that to heart and step up to the game. And if not, then new blood. Bring it on, right? Okay. That's all I got, Mark.
Thank you, C-Sam. Appreciate that gift sub as well. I think you're right. And again, 40's great. 40 constantly was reevaluating his content, how to make it better, doing better things, just really, really having a great time doing it. But is also taking the opportunity to really reevaluate himself and what his priorities are. And, sometimes people ask me, why don't you stream more? Obviously, I was on vacation here a couple weeks ago, and so I did stream more. Why don't you stream more? Why don't you make more videos? Because I work a full-time job. I have a family. I have 3 kids. I have a wife. I like spending time with them. I have some friends. I like spending time with them. And so, seriously, it's just you got to set the boundaries, and you have to say, this is what I enjoy. This is what I want to provide for the community. This is what I can provide for the community. We're the only ones doing what we do in terms of, a podcast. So that's that's what we've chosen to do, and we may continue to try to improve and change it up as time goes by as well. But we're happy when we'd be happy if other people did it too. I could listen to DissidiaFFOO talk for more than an hour and a half or 2 hours a week as well. But Arrow, and any thoughts about what hole 40 may have left, and what kind of how that could be filled by future content creators?
I will say first off, he was one of my favorites to consistently listen to, and I did get to see him improve over time. He's still streaming, guys. So
yes.
Please go follow him on Twitch if you really want to still interact with 40 the Broadway Saiyan. Please, we'll put his Twitch in. I'll put his Twitch in the chat shortly so that we can, so you guys can go follow him, because he does a fantastic job. I love watching other games he was doing. Like his After Years playthrough was just a blast. I had a lot of fun when I was able to join those streams. So he is just as fun to listen to with other games that he can make time for. So I will highly recommend checking out his channel on Twitch, since he's still able to do that. And he has a wonderful Discord community as well. I mean, gosh, I can't say anything bad about 40. He helped me out in my first month here on streaming. He rated me on my first real stream last week on Thursday, and it was such a help, because I'm able to help with his help and a couple of others like Chris, 5258 and Resfoina. I'm able to hit affiliate in my first month. Thank you, 40 and others for that. It means a lot to me, and I think he will continue to support this community in the ways he can. And I respect the fact that other priorities have they took the what is it they overtook the other things. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna miss his YouTube videos, but I completely understand that life changes for people. So I wish him only the best. Back to you, Mark.
Yeah, Lorenzo says, mad respect for prioritizing your family. And Predator says, 40 left, and also Dissidia Duck has not uploaded any videos since then. So, thank you, G50, for this Twitch Prime sub. Yeah, so very, very suspicious, very suspicious. Well, hey, in the news of the day, we'll talk more about that kind of stuff, I think, moving forward. We have a couple costumes, Bartz and Pinello. If you haven't picked those up, they are repeats. They are repeat costumes, but if you like them, I'm not a huge fan of the Final Fantasy V costumes, because I actually like the Dissidia costumes for the Final Fantasy V characters. But Arrow, I think you enjoy those Final Fantasy V costumes, right?
I personally actually like the Kid Icarus outfit on Bartz in this game. I'm really hoping later they will add the dancer costume as maybe like a second outfit for Bartz, but I have yet to see it. If they add that, I will purchase that in a heartbeat. But yes, the only real, I guess they would call it the freelancer job outfits that we've received. This to me is the only one I've really liked. The bubblegum pink hair on Lena is just too bright for me, and I don't really like it. And her Amano outfit in DissidiaFFOO is just absolutely gorgeous. So I never bought that costume either. But Ferris's that's a really nice costume. I like how that looks with the purple hair. She looks really different, but in a good way. But yeah, I like the Pinello costume. I might buy that before it goes away.
I do have that one. Yes, that is also available. Pinello's Revenant Wings costume. Thank you, Theologica, for the subscription. Amens for the subscription, and Summon Biscuits for the subscription. Thank you all for resubbing. I've been away for a while, so appreciate you all coming back. There was a couple addressed issues, some language in Bartz's kit that's been updated, and also heretic quests were not unlocking correctly, and that has been fixed. It's not something that I noticed. I may not have done them the first night, though, so not sure anybody ran into that issue, but it has been fixed. Other than that, no new news, except tonight is the launch of the summer campaign, and we anticipate Galuf will be on the banner. So we'll see. Hey, Amens. Well, let's talk about the event. We got 3 events tonight. We got the event Mother Fixation. We have the Heretic questions. We have the Heretic quest. What's Heretic questions? Crimson Arms, and we have the Lost Chapter Love, the Melody of Courage. And a lot of hot takes in between. So, let's start with the event Mother Fixation, one of the dumber named events that we've had. But it is for a brand new character, not from a main game, not from a game at all, but from a movie based on a game called Final Fantasy Advent Children. Actually, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. And it is the antagonist of that film, or the quasi-antagonist of the film, spoilers, Kadaj, or Tiny Chibi Sephiroth. Kadaj is a debuff character who is also a melee damage dealer, has a unique ability we'll talk about in a minute. Just to go over his kit briefly, of course, if you want to dig into the kit, you can always go to DB, you can go to the compendium, or you can go to our friends at the TonberryTroupe.com for their beautiful infographic. But his first skill is an AoE skill that does split damage, puts his debuff fixation on. His second skill, 1 stack, is a single target attack with splash damage, does 2 stacks of his stackable debuff fixation. Fixation goes from 1 to 5 stacks. It can be on all enemies in the field, but the stacks only increase on the enemy that you are targeting. So if you target only with single targets, it can go from 1 to 5. If you switch to another target, it will start over and go up on the new target. If you continue to hit with AoE attacks, it will go up for all of the targets. Fixation is an interesting debuff. It at 1 stack steals 50% of the gain brave. At 2 stacks is a defense down 20%. At 3 stacks, attack down 20%. At 4 stacks, a physical defense down 20%. And at 5 stacks, it triggers Geography, which is his follow-up attack, and is what is it's a 4-hit AoE, or a 4-hit single target brave plus HP attack with a brave gain at the end, 30% of the damage dealt. So that is a nice little effect. Geography. I thought somebody might like that. It's a dumb word. I can't even bring myself to say what they actually called it because it's so stupid. Geostigma. He's got the geostigma, but you should definitely use geography to your advantage. I'll talk about his LD first, because his LD is a big attack, double dump, but it gives 12% of his mother's casket. If you're familiar with the film, Genoa is in the little casket. It's an overhead buff, gives him more attack, more overflow stone, more brave gain, more damage based on levels of fixation. And so that's really all the LD does. He only has 3 uses of that. The main thing of his kit is his EX, which is called Divinity, which has one of the coolest animations in the game. You see kind of double vision of him and Sephiroth making the attack. Does a bunch of AoE damage. It actually dispels or removes 2 buffs from all enemies, which is awesome. Gives you a free ability on the next turn, which is great for his longevity. Applies 1 stack of fixation to all targets, or increases their stacks by 1. And gives the Stigma debuff for 5 turns, which is a gold-framed debuff, which cannot be dispelled. It actually gives all of Kadaj's debuffs, which he only has at his base kit 2, in framed gold. So fixation becomes in frame with gold. If he has an E-sphere, which gives a debuff, that becomes framed with gold as well. And Stigma is attack down 20%, brave damage taken up 20%, and a sap effect of 10% of its max brave. So fairly decent debuffs, but the problem seems to be, and I'm not really sure where this came from. Maybe Mino knows a little bit more about this, but it's supposed to be a normal charging EX. It takes 2 skills and an HP plus to charge it, which makes his gameplay, he's fairly slow. It makes his gameplay a little hard, and risks at some of the Stigma or some other things falling off. because it does take a little bit longer to charge that EX. If it charged in 2 turns, it would definitely be a lot better. But it takes about 2 skills plus HP plus for it to go. So that really sucks for him. Other than that, that's kind of his basic kit. He's not real difficult to play. You just need to manage his own buffs, his latent thoughts, which he gets from his skill 1 and skill 2, his mother's casket, which is from his LD, and the fixation and stigma, and make sure you know who you want to target with fixation. So you have max fixation stacks, 5 stacks at all times, or use his AA to jump it up to another target if you want to switch targets. So before I give any of my thoughts, Arrow, what are your thoughts on Kadaj?
Well, I'd love to give them, but Mark, we had somebody redeem their channel points for a question.
What?
This one from Dave Perrybra 000. Does anyone know why? I guess geography is that name. I honestly don't know. I've never seen the movie. But Mark, you're a fan. Do you know why it has such a weird name?
I did not see this question. Oh, here it is. I apologize, Dav, for not seeing that. Why is that the name? My only assumption is it's based on geostigma. So geostigma is the made-up crazy disease in the movie where people keep having this geostigma appear, generally younger people, children, and it's based on, I'm not even going to go into it because it's just all bullshit, right? If you're watching the movie for the plot, you've missed the idea of the movie. The movie is Cloud on a motorcycle fighting things, and then Cloud and Sephiroth fighting, and then Avalanche fighting Bahamut, and Reno and Rude kind of comedy stuff, Vincent shooting stuff. It's an action movie that has a plot. Who cares what the plot is? I mean, it's so convoluted that I even looked up some stuff about Kadaj because where the hell does Kadaj come from? Oh, there's manga and stuff that came out that explained all about it, and it's ridiculous. It's just absurd. It's stupid. It's off the wall, not amazing storytelling. So the idea. I don't know where the exact word comes from, but the geostigma is is what they call it in the movie, at least in the English. Maybe that's more appropriate to the Japanese translation. It's really a word, the practice of eating earth. Okay, yeah. So that would be interesting. If maybe that's more appropriate to the actual translation of the Japanese version of the film. So, yeah.
I got you, Mark.
Thank
okay,
you.
So the origin of the word is geostigma. The concept in the stupid ass movie was that you get life stream poisoning, right?
Yeah.
Mako poisoning. What Cloud got. Basically, there's so much life stream. Oh my god, I don't want to talk about the plot of this shit movie. So much life stream leaked out to stop Meteor that now people are being poisoned by an overabundance of life stream. And life stream is the life essence of the earth. All right.
Yeah.
Why geophagy? Because even though it's a real word, that is not the origin of this geophagy. Okay. This is the result of really bad English and Square Enix taking words from other languages to mean something they want to mean, but it has nothing to do with eating the earth. All right. I believe in the interviews, Nomura said, we just wanted something to represent earth sickness. So they said geo for earth, and phage for external virus, as people are saying. Not the actual word. They're just let's take Latin words, combine them, and try to make a word. All right? Nobody should be surprised by this. FF7 Remake Intergrade. Nomura is just we just wanted to combine the words interlude and upgrade. So, yeah, these, even if Intergrade was a real word, they're not taking the real word, guys. They're just mixing shit up. They're mashing shit together. Okay, it's not a real thing. And basically they're just saying, geophagy, let's just take 2 Latin words that means earth sickness and say earth sickness. Okay, it's the dumbest fucking shit in the world. But continue, Mark.
Yeah, well, there you go. I love Advent Children, just to let you know, and I have Kadaj and his full kit. But it's got a bullshit plot. So it's just one of those movies you go in knowing that, yeah, the plot's kind of bullshit. The movie is a lot of fun to watch, and then you're done, and you don't think about it too much, because the more you think about it, like, it's not Jean-Paul Sartre. I mean, it's not like deep existential philosophy. Like, it's just a movie. Just, enjoy it and go about your way. Yeah, so Arrow, please.
Yes, there we go. Sorry. Yes, I was going to say my Kadaj thoughts. Oh my gosh. Okay. All the animations are just so smooth and so good. I love every single one of them. I want to stress that. The new mechanic with the gold frame debuffs, very cool. And I like that for once we can put on a generic E-sphere and actually do something with it. Now, one of the cool things I've heard is people using even better percentile type debuff numbers, and that'll overwrite, but it'll stay gold. So I think one of the common things was to put Ultimecia Sphere on Kadaj, and then throw in like somebody else's better defense down, and that gets gold framed instead. Very cool stuff. If you're into that. What else was? I do appreciate with the EX that you get the free skill use, because that AA, it lets him change his fixation target, so you can go to 5 stacks on a new enemy should you need to do that. I really hope they'll address the normal charge issue. But guys, I got to be real. I've experienced this problem before with an EX bug with Lion, and they took 6 months to fix that. And that was way too long. I still used her, but she was gimped for a very long time. So I'm really hoping that you guys don't have to wait 6 months for your Kadaj EX to be fixed. So I really do hope they fix that. What else? Oh yes, that overhead he has. That improves based on a target's fixation level. I like the overhead buff he got. He's really neat. He's a really cool utility debuffer if you're in, you need that. And having Dispel on your EX and Instant Break, it is a loaded EX. And on top of that, like I said before, you get free skill use, There's a lot going on here to like. And if you like this style of character, you will be able to use him for quite a lot. His damage for his role is actually okay too. Like, usually these characters don't do the greatest damage. Kadaj at least has a lot of utility dumped on top of that, and a follow-up that helps out so much. Oh yes, he does have refund. Thank you, Amons, for the reminder on that. Yes, and refund, one of my favorite mechanics, brave refund on skills. Yep. I always appreciate those things too. Those are my thoughts. I think he's a good character if you needed it in your roster, but for me, I skipped because I'm coming back for the Lost chapter and going all the way to Pity for my girl Maria. I hope I get Kadaj along the way, because I think his utilities are very, very strong, and I wait to see what they do with him in the future. Those are my thoughts, Mark. Back to you.
Mino, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was going to cover the good stuff first, but you two already got it. So I can move straight into the negative stuff. People in chat, especially fucking Jin Lee's, asking me, why did I even bother pulling this character? Work's been so busy the last month, so in my hubris, I've done a lot less research on DissidiaFFOO than I usually do, because I've been so focused on work, right? And so in my hubris, I was like, why is everyone shitting on Kadaj? You know what? I'm going to be a hipster. I'll pull the kit. I'll take it for a spin. I'll evaluate for myself. And what a piece of shit he is. Okay, all right, so let's get down to this. The good stuff has already been said. Animations are great. Not necessarily single target. The free skill AA lets you switch targets no problem. And you should be doing that for optimal DPS anyways. I see that complaint a lot, saying, oh, he can only attack one target. If you free AA and move it over, he does splash on all of his attacks, and everyone knows you're supposed to lower both bosses equally, so you want to be constantly switching. You don't want him only on one target, so that's a non-issue. All right, and also his debuff is very it's cool. The concept of absorbing enemy battery is a good concept. I'll give you that. Okay, let's talk about why he's a piece of shit now. I like how the fights that he's synergy for, so his and the heretic quests, exactly, are the only ones with non-stop cleanses.
Yeah.
And then you never see them again. So like they really wanted to push that golden debuff and then make it irrelevant immediately. Because if you look ahead, cleanses are very few and far in between, so it doesn't even fucking matter. And the biggest thing, okay, so his kit is okay. No, his kit is below average. His skill 1 and his skill 2 are below average. His EX is amazing.
Yeah.
That's what balances out to make his kit okay, all right? Yeah. Like, it feels really bad to press anything other than the EX, because the EX is amazing, right? It gives you the golden frames. It gives you the instant AoE instant breaks. It's his biggest damage. It's the coolest animation. His EX is the best thing ever. As people are talking about, to expand on the bug, what the bug is usually when you use an EX, it counts towards the recast of the next EX. So any veteran who's been playing DFFOO a long time knows that the first EX takes the longest to build up, and the subsequent ones are much shorter, much faster, like Zonde, right? And so what it is his EX is not rebuilding the next EX cast. So it's like you're building it up for the first time every time. And what that amounts to is an extra turn to get the EX up. As Mark said, it's a minimum of an HP plus, but you don't want to be hitting his HP plus anyway.
Yeah,
not ideally. So it's realistically 3 skills. And what that is in JP, when it was working properly, it was 2 skills exactly. Even if you had all the speed passives on, it was 2 fucking skills. So he takes 33% longer to get his EX up, and his EX is the star of the show.
Right.
So what that means is a 33% loss in utility, a 33% loss in longevity, a 33% loss in like, anyone who's used him for his own event knows. They're like, why is the boss cleansing more than I can put on the gold frames? Or why are they hitting that mode more than Kadaj can instantly break them, right? He feels so shitty to use. The EX recast kills him, because that is 80% of his fucking kit, all right? And then even outside of that, his damage is okay. And I'm going to get to this when we get to Palom as well. People are saying, hey, Kadaj is actually doing pretty good damage. The problem is, if we're taking a snapshot in time when he's synergy, yes, his damage is comparable to the meta units of late. And then, but also, and I'll expand on this later too, people are noticing, wait, why are the turn counts getting shorter and shorter, right? Because the damage isn't starting to keep up anymore. We're about to see a big ramp up, guys. And it's not even that. BC said that after Bartz's cycles, the fights become less bullshit. I looked ahead. I did my research. That's half true. The turns are still bullshit. The characters are just more bullshit.
Yeah.
They're way more bullshit. Like, Kadaj on a good day can do 400k damage total to 2 targets in synergy. And that looks good, right? Tifa out of synergy can probably do 1 million damage.
Yeah.
And then after Tifa, you have Lael.
Yeah.
You know, like a whole cycle built towards a launch burst character. And then you have Cloud of Darkness, who has crazy follow-ups and delays. And then you have Tidus, who has even crazier follow-ups and delays. It's not that the fights get better, it's that the characters become insanely more bullshit. That's why it's so funny that people are like, oh, Kadaj can do 300k a turn. Yeah, it's great. Palom can do 400, 500k a turn. Oh, yeah, amazing. No, dude, the characters get so much more bullshit. Look up Cloud of Darkness, Tidus, Lael. They do millions a turn. And that's why, like, moving forward, it's very telling that nobody used Kadaj and Edward's Lufania. Like, yeah, sure, use him for his own and Bartz because he's synergy, but nobody, like, I think one Call to Arms submission has Kadaj, and he's being carried by, like, Tara Young or something. So, like, yeah, like, these numbers are not impressive. They're just matching previous characters, but his damage does not hold up. What's really sad, it's a divorce of concept, is what it is, right? I think Kadaj has a very interesting kit and a very interesting mechanic. It just does not match the meta of the game. not that only about half the bosses moving forward actually battery themselves really, really hard. Have you done Edward's Lufania? 0 self batteries.
Yeah.
What's Kadaj even doing there? Zero cleanses. Why do you need the gold frames, right? Like, and the damage doesn't meet the 50 turn count. So like, what a divorce from the meta. And we're going to talk about a lot of the characters there. And the last thing I have to say is when I did these analyses when I was a regular co-host, I always came at these at the point of view, as Mark always likes to say, if you're talking to a new player, if your best friend just started the game a month ago today, and they're saying, "Oh, I got these gems. Who should I use to tackle content? Who will make content easier coming up?" There's 6 new LDs a month. If this character isn't even in the top 5 of the 6 that month, how can you say it's a good character? Or if you take in last month and you have all the meta characters like Garland, Terra, and Yang, if he's not even the top 10 of the 12 of those 2 months, and then you take in next month where you have like Galif, 9, Bartz, Tifa, and they're not even in the top 15, how can you call this a good character? Kadaj, I don't care what anyone says, he is really, really not in the top 15 of this 3-month stretch, and people running him are running him with big fat meta carries. All right, I know I haven't read chat. Jin Lee will probably fight me on this because Jin Lee had this very specific setup. It was amazing. He challenged me to do the same. I couldn't replicate his run. He did Kadaj, Vincent, Sarah.
Yeah.
And I hate that team. He'll champion that team, but I was like, they keep overwriting each other's debuffs, Jin. What are you doing? Why do you have 3 debuffers on a team? And he'll be like, no, it doesn't matter. Just do the golden ones. The rest of the debuffs, whichever's on, who cares? Further enforcing my hate for debuffs. Yeah. But Jin Lee, you're a champion of the people. Would you? But Jin Lee himself said, I would not recommend this team to anybody else. And he had to put on special spheres for it and calls just to get it to work. So, no. Finally, as Arrow compared it to the Lion EX bug, Kadaj's EX is bugged. People were like, oh, well, maybe they'll fix it soon. I hope so, but
it's not looking good.
Yeah.
Not looking
prospects
good.
Do not look good.
Yeah.
This is what happened. Here's the short story. Lion's EX was bugged, and it was bugged so long in JP that by the time it was found in GL and reported in GL, the devs looked into it. It was bugged in GL and JP. They had to find a way to fix it in both versions. That's why the fix took so long. You know how some things sometimes they copy paste the code, something's bugged. They're like, oh shit, okay, well we can fix that by taking it from a further patch that has the fix. No, right. For Lion's EX, the reason it was bugged for 6+ months is they needed to find a way to do it in both versions. Same with the healing one, right? Everyone, I rant about this all the time. Moves that kill that heal, if you deal the killing blow with them, some of them don't heal. People kept taking it as it is. Josh looked into it. It's actually a bug. And then they fixed it on both versions. And then it's broken again in GL because GL keeps copy pasting the patches. So we're at a point where it was broken in JP again. So the fix that we got was already reverted. It's broken again. Maybe it'll be fixed when we catch up to the point in JP where they fixed it. But the point is, Kadaj, they didn't even know it was bugged. Dreamy of Tonberry Troupe discovered it because they did the research, and Dreamy asked Josh, why is the EX charging differently in GL? Josh looked into it. A future JP patch broke it. It is still broken in JP as of this day. They only found out about it when Kadaj released in GL and Dreamy reported it. So the fact that they need to try to fix it in both versions means it's going to take another 6+ months at least. If we take Lion's example, and if we don't take Lion's example, we take the healing example, it means they could fix it tomorrow, and then next month's patch, it'll be broken again. So Kadaj is dead in the water. Sorry, Jin Lee.
Yeah, Kadaj, thank you, JD Terraforce, for the sub, first of all. But Kadaj suffers from being a debuffer, which is, again, not a bad class in this game. They're all functional. Jin Lee uses all of the debuffers exceptionally well, and you can if you really enjoy that playstyle, but they're 100% not necessary. they're never, really built around, yes, you needed a debuffer for this particular fight, but you could get around it pretty easily, and a lot of characters throw on debuffs just, because that's how they do, and if you have an E-sphere, you can do that as well. But yeah, so I mean, Kadaj wasn't going in really strong because your debuffers never really shine compared to some of the other units. But yeah, with the EX so slow charging, it's so bad. Yeah, it just sucks. It sucks to play him. And I think it would be a lot more fun. I think it would be a lot more interesting if the EX charged more consistently. He would do more damage. It would be, it would be a lot smoother of a play. It would be a lot simpler of a play style. But yeah, a lot more longevity, obviously. But yeah, that's pretty much
Mark,
it for Kadaj. Yeah.
You bring up a really good point, and I want to emphasize that is because some people like Excalibur is in chat. Excalibur, you're a god tier player. I respect you a hell of a lot. I know good players. You're a great player, and he's defending Kadaj and saying like, oh, yeah, of course he's not like a meta pick, but he could be good in his own context. Here's the thing, like. Any veteran can make anyone work, and it's a veteran luxury. A lot of veterans have a million gems like Mark, or
like Mark.
or they have a roster to back up weaker characters, right? Like for example, Scott Ong is in here, and I was trying to make a really shit Eldnarsh run work, and I'll talk about that later. But Scott was like, "Oh, here, look at my run. I got Eldnarsh through with Tara Young and Garland BT friend." And I was like, "Well, you can carry any garbage with it. Fuck Eldnarsh. He's a piece of shit." But the thing is that of course, for veterans, it's always luxury. It's always play style. That's what I always say. But I'm saying when I review these characters, I'm coming in from, is this going to help a new character clear content? And 2-week synergy BTs, yes. 100%, right? Tifa, Tara Young, yes, 100%. And I'll get to Tara Young later because all the content creators are saying they undersold Young when I was watching their streams this week, and because everyone's using Tara Young to get through the content, right? Because these are some bullshit ass fights. Yeah. And but right, like for you super veteran players, it is always luxury. It is always play style. You guys can make anyone work, but these reviews are specifically from new players coming in saying, I only can pull one character in these next 2 months. Should I pull Kadaj? Fuck no. But back to you, Mark.
Yeah, well, let's see if we go to Quetzalmus Materia Bot on our podcast polls on our Discord. You can always join our Discord. It's a wonderful growing community. Black Cloud's Discord, excuse me. And appreciate the shout outs, Black Nero. Check out his streams every week, and as he's doing that on YouTube, Black Nero on YouTube. We had 17 pitying the LD, 6 using gems, 103 tickets, and 128 skipping. But a fair number of folks going for Kadaj or trying to get Golbez's BT, as I did on the very last. I didn't do any of those videos, but I did. I didn't upload any of those videos, but I spent 280 tickets for Kadaj's LD. And I'm like, I'll just spend 10 more. And I spent 10 more to get the 300 and got the burst, thankfully. So that worked out really well for me. But yeah, Kadaj is what it is. Let's talk about the Lufania fight quickly. Again, all these fights are crap, and all these fights can be Terry-Yonged, I think. So we don't need to go into too much detail. But you fight 2 weird-looking horse things with one eyes. Orthothankalamias? I don't even know how you would say that. Orath Camilla. I don't know. Hey, yeah, why do you need, this is Lau saying, why do you really need a debuffer when you can simply prevent the enemy from acting altogether, or any other different ways, right? Yeah, that's definitely one way. Yeah, you can continue to Camel Clops, John Belmont. Check out John as well. But Their Lufania orb, you have to maintain a debuff. Obviously, they cleanse debuffs, so the best way to do that is to have gold frame debuffs, which only Kadaj does right now. Sephiroth will do that later as well. It's a 70 turn count, so it's a tight turn count. We have 70, 70, 50 for the 3 we're doing. They're weak to dark damage, obviously, Golbez. They are immune to paralyze, HP, attack, disable, confuse, terror, sleep, all the shutdown ones. Immune to delay and turn deletion, so you can't delay these 2. If they break you, they with their evil eye ability, they will inflict petrify for 2 turns. I don't think it shows 2 turns, but it is a 2-turn debuff, so it will fall off. So that is the recast ability. If they break you, you will be petrified. They cancel debuffs every 10% of their HP. That kind of sucks. And at the 79%, 49%, 29%, they refill their HP threshold. They refill their recast gauge, and they skip their own turn. They gain a whole bunch of brave, and the only way to get them out of that is to basically instant break, because they become very, very resistant to damage. And if you don't break them, they do a terrible attack and it will kill you. They do a lot of HP attacks, so you definitely want to find ways to deal with that. So instant break, obviously Kadaj hits all the markers. He shoots up debuffs that they can't get rid of, so the orbs are not a problem. He does instant break. Now his instant break can be a problem because it doesn't charge very fast. If it charged every 2 turns, he could instant break all of them. So if you only bring in Kadaj for instant break, you're probably going to need some instant break for call abilities, of which there are several. Jack, Caius, who else instant breaks? You can kind of instant break with Trey if you're pretty good at it. There's a few other instant breakers. Amadetillion, yes, instant breaks. Thank you. That's a good one. Just take her, take their EX off so you don't have to throw on too many debuffs, or do, because that's a good one for extra debuffs. Yeah, this fight sucks. I brought a full synergy team, Kadaj, 9, and Golbez. Golbez is doing the dark damage, good damage dealing for 70 turns. Kadaj is again doing the instant break, and he's doing the gold frame. 9 is able to defend the party and able to reduce the damage taken. So it hit all the boxes, but it still wasn't an easy fight. So I know there are a lot of other options, but I certainly don't think this was an easy fight at all. Arrow, and thank you to DissidiaFFOO for obviously the help with the boss overview, and that is Scott Ong that's here in chat as well. So thanks to Scott for that, and you can check that out, DissidiaFFOO.com, as well as the call to arms with all the wonderful teams. So Arrow, yeah, what do you how did you approach this?
Okay, first of all, I hate this fight, and second of all, thank you to GG2-123, because I was shared the screen of their winning team and I was able to copy it for the most part to also find success. So my team was Squall, 9, and Sarah. Thanks. Shout out again to you, GG2. All right. Anyway, so usually when you get hard Lufanias, guys, they are not just one thing that's annoying. It's several things that go together in a pot, and they make a beautiful, disgusting, toxic stew. Okay, so I was talking about this before. So the first thing is that tight turn count is 70. Yeah, those cleanses every 10% actually can lock out a lot of characters, because we have a lot of characters who heavily depend on their LD debuffs to do any damage. We know of a few, like, I don't know, Machina, for example, or somebody more recent. How about, what's his name? Somebody like Jack. He's pretty dependent on his stuff. It's just characters like that. They're super dependent on these LD debuffs being on, and they're getting constantly cleansed. You can't take them. You need instant break or gravity shape. So you have to pick somebody who will work in that role, and it takes a lot of setup to time the tray thing well. Okay, guys, so that's not easy. Or you have a bunch of older characters that you don't want to take because of the tight turn count. So when they do the thing in their at the cleanse, and then they have the charge bar already all the way charged, and they're about to do the petrify, you have to be very careful not to get them under 10% if you're not running Kadaj, because they're going to have the recast, and if they don't have a debuff, that's a petrified character. That's a dead run, like Mark was talking about. There are locked turns. You can break them, but I think that's the only thing you can keep doing when they're with those locked turns. So you can't cheese this in any way. You do have to deal with the mechanics. Okay, and then the brave gain and brave damage reductions are super huge on top of all that. So they really want you to debuff, but you have to you gotta have like call debuffs and stuff to really deal with this without synergy. So they're supposed to delay themselves like at what is it, the 79%, 49%, 29% marks. But the thing is, like, they don't always delay themselves. I'm dead serious. You can have runs where they don't delay themselves. It's like, holy crap. So then you just die because, well, you didn't have a chance to even react. And this problem is also compounded with the other stuff I've already mentioned above. So this fight, it was bugged on the JP version. Did we talk about that? Because
we got the harder of the versions. Yes.
So I think it was if you brought them down together, they didn't do that.
Correct.
That delay, or no, I'm sorry, the like damage reduction thing, so you could more easily break them. Holy mess! And like this fight is just an awful mess of things together to be very difficult. And it's not, like I said, bad fights are never just one thing. If this had only been maybe 2 or 3 things, we would have been fine with it. It would have been pretty tolerable. But it's when you add all the extra little minor nuances and gimmicks and things, that's when a fight becomes really difficult. So that's my thoughts. I'm going to pass it on over to Mino. I'm glad I got through this fight, but if you can't deal with it and you're not, before I pass it over to Mino, if you find it annoying, you can't deal with it, it's stressing you out, don't worry about it. It's just, you just are going to have to miss out on 20 armor tokens. Let it go. Don't make yourself want to quit over one dumb fight in the game. There we go. Mino, your turn.
All right. As BC likes to say, it's not that deep, fam. These are some bullshit fights. All they're doing is selling the next character. Yeah. If anyone has noticed, Bartz makes this a piece of cake.
Bartz is really good for this.
Yeah, Bartz makes this a piece of fucking cake. Galif, who was in JP, came out after Bartz, makes his fight a piece of cake. Yep. And then Tifa makes Edward's fight a piece of cake. So all you do is wait 4 days for the next fucking banner, and then shit all over this fight. This is the worst design stretch of DFFOO I've seen in a long time, since like early Chaos, where even the veterans are getting burnt out because they're like, it's restrictive as shit. Everyone's either using the synergy LDBT and the synergy characters, or they're using Terra Young. Like, if you look at the call to arms for the last 3 weeks, that's all it is. It's a shit ton of Terra Youngs and maybe like Golbez plus Kadaj for that fight, or Bartz plus whatever for his fight, or, you know, like Terra Young, Palom, fucking Bartz for their fight. Like, this is the worst fucking design stretch of DFFOO, guys. This is a piece of shit. All right, you either pulled Terra Young and just using them for 2 months straight until the game gets fun again, or just wait and pull the next banner and come back. Like, these are some shit fights, as everyone's saying. And again, this isn't just casuals complaining on Reddit. These are some of the top hitting people in the community, like Excalibur, Belial, Blardig. Again, I don't even know. The top players, TCC Extreme pros, and they're like, I don't even want to record this fucking fight because I just brought the fucking meta. Like, I don't want to. It's restrictive mechanics, which would have been fine on their own, and then they're somehow shortening the turn count every fight. I don't know why. Kadaj was 70, I think Bartz was 60, and now Edward is 50. So, you know, go fuck yourselves, DFFOO devs. This is complete bullshit, and that's why I can't even be happy and say every character has their good points anymore, because everyone's just using meta now. Everyone's just using the 2-week LDBT. Everyone's using Terra and Young. How do I recommend bullshit like Kadaj and Palom when they have to be carried by Tara Young, Garland, and 2 week synergy BT, right? Like, who gives it? The garbage characters, garbage fight design. Let's move on.
Yeah, the next fight is 70, not 60, so that is nice. And a summer event is up here. Oh, yeah, so I agree they are, we got a whole bunch of stuff we can go through, but yeah, it's garbage, and yeah. So let's talk about the next character, which is Bartz. Bartz comes with the HaateXIII events. If you're not familiar with HaateXIII events, they're kind of like the very first version of Entropy, Transcendence, Dimensions End that we got, where you can't have to bring certain teams and they are locked out unless they're synergy, then that you can keep using them. So that's how it works. Not hard content usually these days. But it did bring us Bartz LDBT. Penelo's also there. She doesn't get anything. She already had her boards. Bartz got a significant rework. He gets his skill 1 and skill 2 get bumped very well, and he gets a new buff called Adventurous Spirit, which gives him max brave and speed boost, enchants him with the wind element, and also gives him an invisible wind in peril to all enemies. So that's kind of the big thing. He also gets an LD, which does a crap ton of damage and gives him a new overhead Chocobo Feather buff, which gives him HP damage up, splash damage up, brave damage up, more brave gain, and self-granted buff duration +2, and gives the party a little bit boost too. So he does a lot of party utility. He's doing a lot more damage. Of course, he can do he reduces all enemies' braves to 0 with his LD. He reduces target's brave by 90% with his skill 2. So he does have that gravity. I wouldn't call it's not instant break, but it is a gravity effect. So Bart's got a lot. He also gets a BT. His BT effect is stacked. He has a 8-turn BT effect with attack and max brave up to the entire party, brave damage limit up, HP damage limit up, and brave gain up. So and it's 8 turns, and he's not the fastest character, so he does a lot. Obviously, we do know that he is going to get a BT plus, which is even nicer in the future. So at the end of the day, this like 6 weeks through the Lael, although I think Lael's event, I think this month and next month are fairly underwhelming overall, except for a few characters like Tifa. It seems very out of place because she doesn't really fit in these 2 months. But 2 months from now, everybody's doing the kind of damage she's doing. So Bartz is really good. Arrow, I know you like Bartz. What do you have to say about him?
Man, I had to pity for Bartz, but 100% worth it. I'll tell. So I got the BT a little later, but I did have to pity for the LD. I was excited to use him again. I've always enjoyed Bartz. I have played Bartz even when he was considered poopy doopy back in the C50 era, C60 era. I had so much fun with him over time. He has so much in his kit, guys. Like that gravity shave on Missile, and you can spam the crap out of him. They give him so many skill uses. Holy crap! And the splash. He's got decent batteries now with the updates, and it's like that whole wind and herald thing that he does without even doing a debuff. Like what? And on an element that never really gets stopped. Like wind is one of those elements they very, very rarely hit in content. So like Bartz has a very unique element overall that rarely is hit. And you don't need Fusion Call to get an absolute bombastic amount out of this. I don't know, man. Like I don't know what they were thinking. Like why? Like we've had some pretty good like aura users and stuff, but like Bartz has always been unique because of the whole gravity thing he had with Missile and the EX Plus. They added the gravity shave on that too. So it's just he's just got so much, and there's like there's very little that will stop him from like doing his job. Like he doesn't rely on debuffs. Like the only thing that's gonna really stop him is a dispel, and he's gonna get those buffs back up from his own kit in like a turn or two. It's just silly. It's like the man's longevity in a fight is dumb as well. And if you have the BT, he's average speed overall. So like you can keep that BT effect up that 8 turns. Well, really you want to get it down to 5, so you have the rank 3 version of it. So like you got 5 turns on an average speed character at their BT's effect best, and you can do a lot in those turns. Like your attackers are just going to go ham. And like I don't know what they were thinking with this kit. Like he didn't, even with like his future, it only gets better. Should I mention what he gets in the future with BT Plus at all? Like,
No.
Is that okay to go ahead and do?
No, we don't. No, it's not important.
Okay, it's not important. Fine, but
It's
now
it's
like,
good. You'll
it's
know.
good. Like,
you'll know it when it happens. Yeah.
You will not be disappointed if you happen to get the BT in his cycle on any of these banners, and a lot of people might wind up with it because they're gonna pull Tifa. Unless you're me and you're dumb and you pull Palom, and that's where you get it instead. But hey, nothing wrong with that either, right? So honestly, there's very, very little that will stop him. And I guess the only thing that might be a problem is sometimes if you really need to shave like 2 targets, Bartz is kind of bad at that because he only can hit 1 target for all his skills unless it's his LD or his BT effect. So, I mean, his BT finisher attack. So that's it. But like, you can easily build around that kind of weakness. You have 2 other character slots, and Bartz isn't meant to be your main attacker anyway. Gosh, he's gonna be so silly as our new Orabot king. Welcome aboard, Bartz.
Yeah, Eamon does bring up a good point, and I saw Scott Ong is reminding us there were TCC challenges for the Kadaj event and the Bartz Heretics, so do check out DissidiaFFOO.com and see those awesome. There's a lot of them. So those awesome submissions for the TCC challenges, which are just taking out the synergy characters. So check that out. With everything going on, I don't have that up here for tonight, but do check those out. DissidiaFFOO. Thank you, Scott. But yeah, Eamon says his calls are pretty good too. The regular call enchants the character that called and gives that resist down for 6 turns, and the LD gives party attack up, brave damage up, and overflow for 6 turns. So actually a really good call, very truthfully, especially if you need the wind element. So Mino, any thoughts about Bartz?
Yeah, Bartz is it's pretty good. I was having we were having a discussion in the channel, and I think it's getting more and more apparent that you build around a BT. I think if you look at the call to arms, all these bullshit fights, Scott Ong cheated, and there are all BT fight. All the fights use BTs. Every single one. Scott Ong skated by with Sephiroth friend and Terry-Ong combo. I don't know if I don't know if I count that as bypassing the BT need, but I think I was talking to Scott Ong briefly before the show, and he even admitted, he's like, yes, that's the exception. BT seems very, very crucial nowadays. And the last couple of BT characters, the difference between LD and BT, LD only and BT is fucking enormous. Everyone knows Garland LD only versus Garland LD BT. Oh my god, night and day fucking difference, because all of his fat ass auras 100%. Are from his BT effect, right? Yeah. Golbez, same thing. Golbez LD only. Well, I don't even know. I guess you do. You got an extra attack there with the BT. That's the one that freezes their. That's the sensor effect for 20 turns. Yeah, and then now same with Bartz. People who are claiming he's a good aura bot have the BT. If you look at his auras without the BT effect, they're below average. 40, they're 50%
slightly below average, right?
Yeah,
of good aura characters, yes.
Yeah, of dedicated aura characters.
Sure.
With the BT, competitive. Without the BT, below average. And so it's so hard. And I was talking to BC about this before the show. Some of these characters really have to be addressed with and without BT. And same with moving forward, the DPS have to be addressed with and without blue armor. as we get to
Yeah.
Palom. And so Bartz is a very mixed bag for me, guys, because he's very easy to play and plug and play because he's self-sufficient. The aura Wind Imperil is very cool, but building around it is iffy. Like, it's cool if you use it for Bartz alone, right? Then Bartz is always hitting well. He does it alone. But a lot of the wind characters right now don't bring enough damage or utility to justify the Fujin call, which is the big warning that everyone was sending out back in the day, right? Don't pull Fujin just for the call for Bartz. It's really not worth it. It really isn't. And the reason Bartz is known as a superstar is because when his BT Plus comes out, he himself party enchants wind to go with his Imperil weakness. That's when he becomes a huge fucking deal. Right now, you need Fujin for it or other wind characters, and it just isn't worth it. So right now, the 2-week synergy will get you through some of the most bullshit fights. So that alone is kind of worth from a new player perspective. Also, just an LD-BT character is always a tier above non-BT characters. Let's be honest, guys. And just the simplicity of play, right? You hit buttons, he's splashing on everything, he's battering on everything. You don't really need to think. Just face roll, and he'll be doing his job. But that disclaimer needs to be put out that without his BT, he's very mediocre. If you're running an LD only Bartz, holy shit, is he gonna fall out right after synergy?
It's gonna be even more of an issue in the BT Plus era because those characters are getting two shots at their BT buff. So and a whole bunch of damage too. And so yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, obviously there are still LD characters that are going to be great characters that you're going to want, but and these LD, these BT characters without their BTs are still going to get you through the 2-week synergy. But moving forward, yeah, there's going to be some pretty extreme examples of you really want their BT if you want to keep using them for a while. So
Scott Ong says he can be using Kadaj Lufania without his BT. Scott Ong, that's very true. The whole nature of this DFFOO is pull on the next banner and it'll make the last fight easier. And no real self-respecting player will abuse power creep like that. You're only allowed to use the characters you're only allowed to use the characters that are out.
That's right.
When the event drops, no synergy, no calls, no spheres. So
well, and let's just full stop. Get Tifa, and every event that you haven't beat while she is available, go back and use Tifa on, and you'll figure it out. Because, like, her damage is so ridiculous compared to anything we've had. Like, yeah, bring Tifa. If you're struggling with things that are still going to be around when Tifa's around, especially permanent content, yeah. You wait till Tifa comes out. Now, that may not be an issue for things that are disappeared. I'm not sure if Kadaj will be out there, but let's talk about just briefly the Lufania. I got a lot of stuff to talk about Palom, so we don't want to spend too much time on this crap because, as Mino said, either bring the next character that came out or wait for Tifa.
We got a lot of events to cover. The TLDRs, they're all bullshit.
But just be very clear. You fight 2 bears, wild shears. You need to do wind damage. They are weak to melee and range, but they're immune to poison, wound, element resist down. But hey, you can bring Fujin on your Bartz and Terra and Yang, or you can just bring Fujin, Terra, and Yang, or you can bring Terra and Yang with Fujin call, and you can bring Terra and Yang with just Fujin's regular call, and they will die. I don't even know what they do. They get they have huge brave damage reduction, and they cleanse all their debuffs and have crazy brave damage reduction. You need to instant break them. Yeah, that's it.
I think the theme from now until Lufania Plus is don't let the enemies ever take a turn or you're dead. That's just it. That's it.
Yeah. I literally brought Bartz with Fujin's Call, Terra and Yang. Arrow, I think, brought something more interesting. Arrow, who did you bring for this fight?
Oh, I used Bartz because the people asked, and I deliver. And I also used in my other 2 slots 9 and Trey because they're
that was a good run.
Yeah. 9 is actually quite good for this fight because he'll protect you from getting broken, so you don't get hit with that really annoying puncture wound debuff that's basically Setzer's freeze, so you can't gain any brave for like 3 turns. It's disgusting, which is also part of the reason why Penelo is brought back to be boosted, who also got her blue armor, but who cares about that? We're here for Bartz, and we're here to defeat bears. So, those are my thoughts.
Lord Touch Me says, what's huge brave damage reduction? 250% brave damage reduction, apparently. Yeah. That's huge. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
It seems a lot. You'll be hitting ones. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Unless you instant break them or gravity them down with Bartz. So, I apologize. Going back to the podcast polls, 9 people willing to pity Bart's BT straight out the gate. Impressive. 86 pitying the LD. I did. I used gems. 24, Arrow said she pitied. 24 using gems, wantingly 127 tickets. So pretty much everybody's going for Bartz. And I hope you got him real well. Let us know how you did. I did pretty well on this, so I'm not going to complain. But again, DissidiaFFOO, great guide there. If you want to check out Bartz more, TonberryTroupe.com. Join our Discord if you're struggling, or just wait till you got Galuf. Then you got Palom, you got Edward, you're going to get Tifa here in a second. So, or if you have Terran Yang, don't worry about anything. That's why we told you to get Terran Yang.
Don't worry about it.
That's why we told you to pick up Terran Yang.
Yang was so undersold. I watched several content creator streams, by the way, during this last couple of weeks, and they all agreed they undersold Yang because they all said in their should you polls, Yang is a win more button.
Oh yeah.
And then they all used Terra Yang to get through this last month. So they're like, you know what?
Well,
we undersold. Yeah. Go.
Everybody's gonna
our Ciela moment.
Everybody's gonna oversell Setzer and Porum, but you don't necessarily need them to do anything. This stretch of fights is rough, and so there was a reason we were saying to get Terran Yang, because it's a rough stretch of fights. You don't need them, obviously, but if you're not playing the game,
they make it so like everyone there's a lot of struggle. Guys, the state of Lufania posts used to be monthly, and now they're every other week because this month, last month, moving forward, it's all bullshit turn counts, and all the biggest content creators are like, no, I don't think I would have done this without Terry on Golbez. So Yang was that is the meta team to get through the worst shit in this fucking game easily and not sweat about it. So
yeah, they're the Litico of 2021. Somebody figured out what Terra Young Garland, what their nickname can be, what their celebrity nickname to be. Well, let's go to the Lost Chapter. Yeah, I want somebody to work on that in chat. Terry Youngland, Zonde. There we go. We'll just call him Zonde. So Edward and Palom come back on Edward's Lost Chapter. Edward, we already had his LD, but he gets LD boards. His LD boards updates with some more battery. He now actually deals damage with his LD sleep. Gives the party a little bit more potency, brave damage up. He gets 100% gravity. Of course, he had that on it as well. Has that really potent sleep debuff. Doesn't get too much more besides that. He just kind of gets updated a little bit. I've never been a big fan of Edward. I know Inkwelder hates Edward. Mino, you've gotten a lot of use out of Edward. Any thoughts on his LD boards, bringing him up to a little bit more
definitely. Biasing? They're nice, but it's too little too late. I used Edward for so long when he first released, and I tried to run him through a lot of fights now. And the reality is, once again, meta shift. Sleep used to be great, but when the name of the game is kill the enemy as fast as possible before they get a turn anymore, sleep is useless. His damage doesn't keep up for these DPS races, the buffs don't make up for it because anyone who's gonna cap is gonna cap on their own at this point with Garland BT effect and Pestle BT effect. All this shit. His and I'll get into this soon when we talk about Palom. But the fact is, BT characters need to be put a tier above everybody else. And so when you're an LD character, you're being held to a certain standard. Can Tifa match BT damage? Yes. Can Edward's buffs match BT buffs? No.
No.
And
Yeah, no.
and he is not turn efficient. When the turn counts used to be much more forgiving, hide is a funny move. I like it. When you have boss rushes that tick down against you, even when you use free turn moves, terrible move. And when sleep is when you're rewarded for sleep by not going ham on the enemies, but the name of the game is to always hit like Terra alone could annihilate sleep. So that it's basically not even there. If you have Terra and Edward in the same team, sleep is basically a 1-turn delay. Why would I use that when you can just bring Garland, right? So, holy shit. We should get used to the concept that returning LD characters are just irrelevant now. They're just irrelevant now. Same with returning BT Plus's characters when we get there. Some of them break the mold, like Bartz and Y'shtola, but for the most part, they're not as impressive as a new toy.
You're not gonna be wasting limited resources on the old PT, and that's why if there's a character you want to get, Bartz is gonna help you here for a little bit, and his BT plus is really good, fine, but pulling a BT now for a BT later plus later is kind of ridiculous because you're going to want those new BT pluses and you're not going to have tons of resources to max them all out. So
other than Bartz and Y'shtola, which have been proven to be better
very
than
good,
their debuting BT pluses, but other than them, no one has stood against the new BT pluses that they debut. They debut alongside. Sorry, I'm 3/4 through this wine bottle. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do work after this.
Pikachu says Edward is on Mino's tier list. Oh man, Pikachu Games is banned.
No. Going back to that though is sadly, I think Square Enix really learned their lesson, right? I think when you look back at the data that was on the subreddit, EX Plus was when the game made the least amount of money because people had very low incentive to pull for new EXs when returning EXs like Cloud and Lightning and etc. would just dominate. And so the EX Plus era was terrible because you're like, let me just wait for this old character to get their rework, and then I don't even have to pull. That's how Mark hoarded his millions, right? The EX Plus era, you were able to skip a lot of banners.
I guess, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've learned their lesson, and returning characters are no longer the star because that's just bad for business. Returning LCs, returning LDs, returning BTs, fuck that shit. Pull the new ones, guys. Move on. Let go of the past. Back to you, Mark.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the other Joker here in the kit, and that is Palom. Palom gets a new LD. If you're not familiar, Palom is an ice mage who does damage. And Palom has this interest. I actually full disclosure, I was so pissed off, and we'll talk more about this. I was so pissed off about the bad takes on Palom that even though I hate the character, I hate Palom and Porum as characters a lot. I did not even coerce the community to give me subs to pull Palom. I just pulled Palom because I wanted to use him before the show to actually have a decent sense about what he was doing, because the takes on Palom across the takeosphere were garbage. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Palom has an interesting mechanic. Every time he uses one of his skills, the next time he uses it, they get better. He gives himself an incredible amount of buff duration on his buff. So you know, he has 3 uses of his bluff mechanic, 4 uses of his Mysidian Ice Crystal, which again they get better every time he uses them. Gives him the Dark Arts and the Dark Wisdom buff. His Stardust EX is fairly fast charging. That gives him the resist down. It's doing great damage. Gives him the Ice Enchant as well. And now he gets the Twin Cast Double Blizzaga. Porum shows up. They do it together. It's cute, right? It is an AoE Unbreak. Awesome. Unbreaks. Then does an AoE attack with split damage. Executed twice. Gives all of his buffs 4 more turns, which is awesome. Again, he's not running out of his buff duration. If you run out of his buff duration, you're really bad at the game. The second time he uses it, it's a 3 attack. Fourth time he uses it, or third time he uses it, it's a 4 HP dump. And that gives him Twin Resolve, more turns every time he uses it. The Twin Resolve gives him a little bit more damage. And after he inflicts break, he gets an instant and free turn with HP damage up 50%. So every time he breaks with this buff on, he gets an instant turn, a free turn. He can use his new HP++, which is a really great attack called Dual Cast, 6-hit Brave plus HP with 50% splash. If he breaks, it gets the plus version, which extends all his buffs, which at the end of the day, I don't think it's a huge deal to extend all his buffs because he's not running out of buff duration unless you're really bad at the game. And of course, he does Ice Resist down. So the problem with him is he has no way to unbreak besides his LD, and he has 2 uses of his AA, and so you can kind of manipulate with his AA. But interesting character. He is doing a ton of damage. If you blew his armor, which I'm not suggesting, he is doing a lot of damage. It is ice damage, so it is tied to that element, but it's good AoE damage, good overall damage. I like the idea of every time you hit the button, the next time it's better. It's an interesting mechanic that really nobody else has. It's not... The reason I like it, let me put it like this, is because the way we fight fights in this game is the longer the fight goes on, the more defense, the more brave damage reduction, the more whatever the boss has. So you tend to do less damage and less damage the longer the fight goes. But because of Palom's mechanic, where every time he uses his skills, he gets better and he gets more buffs and more stat increases, he's doing pretty consistent damage throughout the fight, and actually more damage throughout the fight, which is cool. I like it. It makes sense to me. It's a nice mechanic. Arrow, you want to have any initial comments? I know you like the character. How do you like his LD?
I love the LD. Okay, but anyway, I have actually used Palom in the past. So when I was hearing some of the stuff I was hearing about Palom and how he works, I was like, that's not it at all. It was driving me bonkers because it was quite obvious that they didn't understand what he did. And then definitely missing out on what dual cast is like in general. And it was baffling to me. I've always enjoyed Palom every time I've decided to go with him as a character. I'm not disappointed this time around. The LD is really fun. I'm really wishing he had more ways to do unbreaks somewhere, because right now he can only really rely on his LD for that. And otherwise he has to kind of wait for the breaks to happen on their own in some capacity. So the enemy to basically get out of, I guess, break status. So single target characters can kind of be good with him, like other fellow single target characters, because everything he does other than like his LD and his EX is going to be a single target, like Brave hit. He only hits one target, but he does a lot of splash damage, so it makes up for it. So that you can get as many breaks as possible, I guess. In terms of like how much damage you can do with like the LD and stuff, it's insane. I remember when I was doing my stream run and I had the Bartz BT effect up and I used my last twin cast. It was like 370,000, and I don't have blue Palom, by the way. So it was like 370,000 damage to both targets. So that's like, what is it? Like some ridiculous number. It's like over 700,000 damage like right there. I mean, in the fact that then you get another turn right after that because you've unbroken somebody, and this damage just stacks up. And the nice thing is, at least he has free turns when he does do the breaks. The thing is, trying to build around that is very, very tricky to really super capitalize on it. So I don't know if they'll address this later in some capacity with like the whole new upgrades they've been doing on JP, but we'll see.
Pair him with XDeath.
Yeah, pair him with XDeath. Pair him with like Sephiroth. Sephiroth's coming back next month, I think. Yeah. Oh man, Sephiroth BT effect with Palom. Yeah, that's gonna be some good stuff. So, I think he has a lot of potential. But would I suggest him for everyone? Definitely not. But on the other hand, like, don't be fooled by that low skill count, guys. They more than make up for it with dual cast plus. Like, that skill is so good.
If you spend a minute with the character, you will not run out of skills. Like,
no, you don't.
You want to use all your skills. Like, you want to try to use them all throughout. You want to try to pace all your skills throughout the fight. But
you can do it.
It's sometimes it's hard to even try to get through, even in Lufania, because I've been playing around with him. It's hard to try to get through all the skills in a Lufania fight because his EX is so fast. You know, you want to use the dual cast on, the free turns. Yep. So yeah, it's.
Oh, one other thing I do want to point out is Bluff is high turn rate. So there are some cute things you can do with that. He has a very fast charging EX overall. So you could go Bluff and then right into EX, and it's just going to hit for a zillion damage because that's just what Palom does. And he's extending all his buffs when he does that. It's just silly, guys. Like, it's a lot of fun. But again, I don't think unless you're willing to really like. I might blue the armor. I'm waiting to see if I can get more resources. But blue armor Palom is going to be like a very different beast than like not, because you get even more damage. And he has like a really nice attacker's armor to go with it. So, and he is one of the only options that we will have for a while, other than obviously I know we're getting Tifa and stuff, but he is the first like one to really get this kind of armor and it's this strong. So. Again, I know a lot of people are saving their resources for Tifa, and I think Tifa for most players is a little easier to play. But if you're looking for just somebody who can deal a lot of damage and last a long time in a fight, Palom does bring that to the table. And I'm going to have a lot of fun playing him. I'm not going – I think even though I had to pity for it, I did get Bartz BT along the way twice. So he was cheeky about it, but he was gracious at the same time. Thank you, Palom. For being cool with me. Like
I mean, if we didn't have Tifa coming next week, Palom would probably be the best damage dealer we have in June and July.
Easily.
I mean, you have to kind of play through. Thank you, Cyndaquil, for the bits there. But don't underrate his damage. Certainly. Thanks, Arrow. I've got a lot more to say, but Mino, what are your takes?
Okay.
Shit on Palom.
Let's do this. King shitbird of the 3-month fucking run. And I curated this opinion so hard, guys. I talked to all the fucking experts in the community for days before I landed on this, because BC and Ink did their rant hour yesterday. Yep. I consulted all of them. I consulted Magnol. I consulted other top character guys. Like, this is a fucking lie. Palom is any. First, let me expand on what Mark was saying. Right, like, there's been a lot of hot takes about Palom, and what needs to be said, credit to BC, is if you don't like a character, just say you don't like them. Don't make up wrong justifications for not liking them. Like, don't say they don't have any longevity, or don't say they're a semi DPS. Like, don't make up reasons to not like them. Just say you don't like them. It's not that hard. You don't have to justify your fucking opinion.
You don't have to pull for anybody, right? You can just say, I hate this character.
Yeah. And then secondly, if you're gonna hate on somebody, at least hate on them for the correct reasons. Right? Like, it's one thing to say don't hate on Palom because he doesn't have any longevity. Hate on Palom because the game doesn't require any longevity.
Right.
Like, as Mark was saying, like, if you ignore the next 2 months then Palom is a good character, right? Like, if you compare him to everything that came before him,
yes,
he is a solid character. But if you look at where the game is going,
oh yeah,
he's a shit character.
It's rough.
He is a piece of fucking shit, okay? Like, people are posting screenshots of him doing 400, 500k. Again, that requires setup and specific team building. Again, Tifa does that solo on a regular skill, not an LD. Okay, guys? Again, COD does that. Like, remember when people were freaking out on the Luf Plus, and they're like, Twins Luf Plus wants you to do, like, 500k in a turn to tick the orb yet? COD's got that, right? Like, these characters are gonna shit all over Palom. It's not even funny. Of course, if you ignore the future, any character can look good, but the point is, if you can take the context, this is why we play GL, right? Like, if we're playing JP, Palom's a great trap.
Right.
But if you look at
that's the shitty part of this situation, because the conclusion of the SYPs is correct. Don't pull on this banner. Like there's no reason to pull on this banner.
Mark is a wise man, guys. Mark said this quote. Me and BC have been all over it, and it's all the SYPs are right to skip this character, but they just got the reasons wrong. This is a shit character, but they got the reasons wrong. and I'm telling you the reasons why you shouldn't pull Palom. First the preface. BC says, and I agree with this, these DPS need to be rated with and without blue armor.
Yes.
Okay. And so, here's the thing. Palom, outside of synergy, is a marginally better Squall if we ignore BT. Because there's been a lot of tests run, and Squall can match, if not surpass, Palom's damage with the right team. Asterisk, with the right team, and we're going to talk about team building in a second. Squall needs a lot more help when it comes to HP damage up, and attack up, and brave damage up.
Yeah.
But if he gets those, he can match, if not surpass, Palom's damage without BT. And he's non-elemental, and he's faster, which means he gets more turns that count, and which means he has more dumps on all of his stuff, right? Like, just naturally, he has more dumps. Because Palom, other than LD and EX, has single dumps on the HP++, which feels really shitty because it caps. With the blue armor, Palom can give Terra and Squall a run for their money even with BT, with his blue armor. The question is, now to JP, you get 8 to 10 blue armors. Is one of them Palom?
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's the big question.
It's not like, and I mean, like,
and so one of the arguments is he's more self-sufficient than Squall. He needs less support to cap and hit as hard than Squall does. But he needs a different team building in a sense to really maximize his damage, right? He needs people that don't break. He needs like Xdeath and Edward, people that set him up for those free consecutive turns. That is still a consideration, whereas Squall needs fat auras. That's the difference between them. The other difference is that Squall can be enchanted to your leisure to match a lot of orbs and hit a lot of things. He has a BT phase. He has a BT effect. Terra as well for all of those. Enchantable, BT effect, BT phase. And the other thing is Palom's hardlock to ice, which is a anyone hardlocked to an element is a detriment. Let's be honest, guys. And
Black Cloud is reminding us that Palom's dual cast is non-elemental.
Fuck dual cast.
Yeah, so it can't be enchanted.
Fuck dual cast. And so in a normal team, for a normal player in these coming months, it's very hard to feed Palom breaks.
Yeah.
Because Cod and Tidus and Lael and Bartz, they're gonna go ham. They're not gonna pull back to give Palom breaks. That's not a realistic situation. And people posting screenshots of, I stacked all these auras and this is how much Palom did in an attack. Those are useless. That's theory crafting, right? Same with those Una videos of the couple million BT phases. Like, that's not going to happen in a normal situation. To go on a fucking rant, because playing a lot of Guilty Gear Strive fighting games, theoretical combos are different from things you can do in a real game. Like people literally say that when they content create for fighting games. They're like, this is something the character can do. Is he ever gonna do this in a real match? No, not a chance in hell. Not a fucking chance. And so Palom, if you somehow missed heavy hitters like Terra and Squall for AoE, and you really need to shore it up with Palom, he's an okay pick. For his AoE DPS is pretty impressive. But again, it is just so sad that where the power creep is going, in 2 weeks, I don't know if anyone's going to remember Palom, right? And the thing is, I'm looking at the call to arms, and all the Palom clears are still Terra Young, Garland, Bartz.
There are not a lot of them. Yep.
Yeah, there's still Palom is still heavy carried in his own event in Synergy. And it's just so fucking sad. Like, oh my god. Like if Palom was carrying the run, if you threw in Palom with like, I don't know, Edward and
nope.
Edward and Kadaj, then sure, yeah, props to you, right? But he's always sandwiched between two heavy fat ass BTs. So like no, like I would even give him a worse rating than Kadaj, because at least Kadaj has the utility of the gold frames and the insta breaks and the geophagy and everything. No, like old characters like Squall and Terra can reach higher thresholds when built properly, and Palom is not plug and play either, because as we said, to reach above average DPS, he needs to get the breaks for the free turns. And even as impressive as his HP plus is for damage, right? And it really is, because he can cap on that. Even close to cap on it outside of Synergy, it's one dump, which is why I use Zonde personally a lot, and I had to dump him eventually, because one dump with splash, it hits a hard limit. When everyone else is like Terra and Squall without the boosts can do 200k per target easy. So, and with the free consecutive turns, and it's so hard to justify in this low turn count environment, right? These 50 fucking turns. You need other people with free turns to really fucking do it. It's just ridiculous. I mean, Mark, do you have any? You're the mediator here. Do you have any balancing opinions here?
I mean, he that is his one saving grace, is he's super self-sufficient. You can potentially run him with some interesting team comps. The problem is, in a 50-turn fight that he is Synergy for, I mean, I brought Onion Knight, so I guess that's an older character. It gives him a little bit more options. But I also ran Garland, and I mean, it was still tight. Like, it was still a tight fight. Like, it wasn't. I don't have his blue armor. If I had blue armor, it'd been a little easier. But and no, no spheres or anything. But yeah, I mean, it's still a super tight fight. And again,
everyone in chat, Scott Ong, great player, right? And other people too. They're saying, like, even if you bring Palom, you need to spam BTs to make it work. You can't do it. You can't do it with it. Like, he's not carrying. What he's doing is trying to keep up with everybody else.
No, I mean, he's obviously doing a lot of damage. And so you can bring some other characters who are not damage dealers, but yeah, this is a rough fight. Somebody did. You were saying Kadaj. Somebody did a Kadaj run. I'm not even sure this actually happened. Garland, Kadaj, Kurasame. In 49 turns. That was Neong MPA. I don't believe that happened. I'm gonna watch that, because I don't think the damage output is there.
That's
this
really
spy.
Good play. But you I think, Mark, you're underestimating Garland BT. It is King BT right now, right?
Well, no,
it's great. Yeah. So I'm saying, like champion BT.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I don't know that there was any. I'm trying to see the Porum runs. I know or Palom runs. Palom, Ultimisha, Hope. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, Ultimisha is not a.
It's a lot of consecutive free turns for sure.
Yeah, so you're getting some free turns, but I mean, and her and Hope obviously synergize really well.
Yeah.
On him, and Hope
A-
synergize really well. So
Amons is saying maybe with blue Palom it can work, but I already spent my books. Thank you for highlighting my point, Amons.
Yeah.
The game is about resources, and you're really going to dump resources on Palom, right? Like, can you honestly look in the mirror and live with yourself if you can say spending blue armor on Palom was more worth it than blue armor on Tifa, right? Like, it's not a contest.
Yeah. Palom, Terra, Onion Knight, Palom, Cecil, Edward. So I mean, that's a pretty, old character run there. So, his in synergy with or without. I don't know if these people had their blue armor or not. You can't underestimate his damage. The issue is moving forward. Is it gonna keep? Hey, Zarate has a Q&A. So with how y'all are talking about these BTs. If you could token one right now and didn't have any recent ones, which would it be, including any upcoming? Well, if I don't get Bartz, I'm going to get Bartz.
I would say depending on how far you want to go in the future. Garland for now. Cod if you can wait a little bit. Cod if you can wait a little bit. Yuna is a fatter Garland aura when she comes out. All of those give you a lot of bang for your buck. A lot like COD is follow-ups, Garland and Yuna. COD is follow-ups and delay. Garland and Yuna are big fat ass auras, so they give you more flexibility in your team building. If you run those, you can make a lot of different characters work. Depends on how long you want to hold on to those tokens.
I mean, I think now going back, Bartz, Garland, Y'shtola. I mean, Garland right now, Bartz, Y'shtola for the future.
True. Yeah.
Eld, Lael, I think those are skippable. Obviously, if you have Sephiroth, Warrior of Light, great. Paladin, Cecil, they're going to get their boards. But then, Cloud of Darkness, Tidus, Yuna, Exdeath, Zidane, Ace. They're all amazing BTs. I mean, they're just all really good. So, moving forward, Cloud of Darkness has a lot of longevity, I know. But and Yuna, obviously, has a lot of longevity. But, definitely. I mean, Garland is great. I love Garland. It's one of my favorite BTs. Probably the best BT in the game right now. Although, again, Bartz comes back a little bit. So, I assume, I don't know like how much you're going to use Bartz BT over the next month or two compared to Garland. I think you'll probably still use Garland.
The current run is going to be low. I guarantee you're going to see very low Bartz BTs after his cycle, because right after his cycle is Lael and a launch cycle.
Yep.
You can't compete. After that COD, after that Tidus, after that Yuna, and etc. Like, they only get more impressive. The only reason Bartz has been hyped up, because in his initial JP release, he wasn't even that celebrated. It was the BT Plus when people realized, oh, now he can make everybody hit for weakness, even if the enemy blocks Imperil, right?
Yeah, I hear
that's why his stock went up.
I hear you need his BT for Transcendence 5. Hey, well, let's look at the podcast polls. Thank you, Quetzalma. You can check out MateriaBot on Patreon, and MateriaBot has a Patreon. DissidiaInfo has a Patreon. Tonberry Troupe has a Patreon. Those of you who are sub to this channel, part of your sub goes to support all of them on Patreon, because I support all of them on Patreon. When Black Cloud gets a Patreon, you can support him as well. And when Mino Spellgood gets
I have a coffee.
And Mino Spellgood has a coffee fee for his Eldmarsh. Hey, thank you, Zarathi, for the gift sub. Appreciate that. The podcast polls are pretty obvious. 200 people skipping Palom, Edward banner. Only 56 tickets, 7 gems, 5 pity. So that tells you what you need to know. The fight is absolute bullshit. 2 Rock Raptors, 50 turn count. You got to do ice damage, but they have Lufania orbs that start at 12. They're immune to paralyze, HP, disable, and confuse. Of course, you can sleep, but why would you give them a freaking turn? Because if you do, you're going to die. So you pretty much just need to Terra Yang them, Garland Aranea them, Squex Airline them, or wait for Tifa. Or you can carry Palom through. And, like I did, and I think Arrow did. Arrow, who did
What did you, Mark, what was your team with Palom?
Palom, Onion Knight Garland.
Yeah. I've seen so many Garlands, right? Yeah, you're right.
My team was Bartz, Palom, and RNA. I had a Garland friend, but did not use him. So there you go. It was just one BT effect, not two.
There you go. I used Garland's BT as opposed to Onion Knight's BT, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, right? That thing's so fucking busted. It really is.
Yeah, but if you're struggling, obviously Scott has a beautiful guide on Dissidia Info. Thank you to Scott and Macnell, DissidiaInfo.com. Check that out. But come on our Discord, and if you're struggling. But seriously, as Mino said, all of these events. Now, Galuf just came out. You know, Galuf's actually probably really good on this fight because Galuf, we'll talk
They have a
about
lot
him
of
next week.
hits.
Do they?
Galuf not for the, yeah. So what it is really quick is Galuf and JP came out between Bartz, HaateXIII, and Edward LC. So of course, following that trend, he's amazing for Bartz. LC because he dodges every attack, and Inkwelder said that if you put a wind enchant on him, he solos the fight. He'll never get hit. He'll kill it by himself. But then he'll get immediately shit on Edward's LC because that is how shitty the fight design is now, guys. Is the pull for the character afterwards to do the fight before, but then see them immediately shut out. So. That's the fucking name of the game right now.
Well, hey, let's have a few questions, and then I'll stay on and do my polls here for Galuf. Anomander, you can go to podcast questions and ask questions, and we'll share them on the show if we have time. We don't really have time. I'm going to delete a couple of these because we got a couple of weeks here. Anomander,
sorry, Mark.
Yes,
Mark. Before you move on to questions, I wanted to bring up a point that
yes, please.
You and I think I was on Jet Set's stream today. That was really, really, really good.
Oh yeah, Jet Set. Shout out to Jet Set Samurai who streams on Twitch. I really enjoy.
I love his
him.
stream, but we were talking about this today, and Aurelius Marcus is saying for a BS fight, it's funny how many different teams I've seen beat this. I have the call to arms up right now. Aurelius Marcus, and let me tell you something that Mark sparked my interest in, and a lot of people confirmed. Mark was complaining about the Kadaj fight when he was doing it because he said usually in this game for the 3.5 years he's played it, when you bring the synergy team, it should stomp, right? But recently, the synergy team's not even good for the fight. And if you bring a full synergy team to Mark, you did that, right? Mark brought a full synergy team to the Kadaj fight.
Yes, to Kadaj.
Golbez 9 Kadaj.
Correct.
And he barely made the turn count. And he was, at the time, he said, hey, if I bring a full synergy team, it should make this fight a joke. Because for the last 3.5 years, if you bring full synergy, you're completing in half the turn count. And at first I dismissed it. I was like, Mark, you're crazy. And then I tried it. I got the same results. And then Edward's Lufania came up. And then we look at the fights. And there are 22 characters used if you don't count one-offs. 22 characters used if you don't count one-offs. Palom is 15 out of 22. Edward is 17 out of 22. And if you just stare at it, the amount of synergy characters used are so tiny. You know who? Terra Young dominate the call to arms. Garland dominate. Like Aurelius Marcus, show me the data, please. Because you're saying, these are BS fights. Why are there so many different team comps? How many of those team comps do you have? If you look at the TCC challenge, they remove 3 to 4 characters, and then all of a sudden there's like 3 submissions.
Yeah,
so
we don't have a TCC challenge. But yeah, as Black Cloud says too, this is just a snapshot. But it is a snapshot that we have. But I think it's a pretty restrictive fight, given the turn count and given the amount of damage you need to do with ice. Obviously, you have some options. It's not like you have to have one character only. We've never had that, but it's pretty restrictive. Yeah, I mean,
It's such a bullshit fucking fight.
It-
Kara is 33 out of the how many submissions here? Hold on.
I was going to say, in the meantime, it seems like it's really the 50 turns. If it was just 55, I think a lot more teams would have even been able to get through this. It's such a weird thing. Like, if they just sometimes would add 5 or 10 more turns, a lot more stuff would honestly get through these fights. But they are purposely tuning these fights so that you pull the newest stuff, that you are using stuff that has come out in the last 2 months. Look, man, I blew 9's armor. Would I use 9 for this event? Absolutely not. His damage is not going to keep up. What his whole kit's purpose is does nothing for this fight. And I find it hilarious that Hope's boosted for this because he's absolutely adding nothing in this Lufania version of the fight. He might be showing up in Terra Young teams, but like let's be realistic. Most teams are not going to want to use Hope. His kit adds nothing to help you with this fight other than a magic in peril. If you have the LD,
my understanding of how we use the call to arms is it doesn't necessarily represent the average community because the average player isn't doing Lufania, and the average player who is doing Lufania is using the least resistance, right? And copying things they found on YouTube. I mean, just let's be honest. We don't have to extrapolate. We just have to look. Why are Should You Polls so popular? Because people don't make decisions themselves. And so...
that's a good point.
So who's doing creative runs? Who's not submitting to the call to arms? Yes, there are probably a couple people. They are, Japanese and playing the Japanese version of the game and not doing anything. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of Defo players probably not doing Lufania. Probably the majority of Defo players not doing Lufania or just getting a clear, getting a reset. We've heard some weird crap like, spending hundreds and thousands. Don't ever spend gems to, refresh except for a very rare occasion. That's not good. Like Chaos and Cosmos. But what's everybody else do? They're copying things they find on YouTube. And so, having 100 different YouTube videos shared together in the call to arms does give us a pretty good sense of the variety because a lot of these players are really good characters. Yeah, so you're very biased. Yeah, no, it's not a non-biased sample. Black Nero's in chat. That's what I'm talking to. It is a very biased sample, but I think the vast majority of players are just not doing it. And so, I mean, but go on Facebook, go on Reddit. There's the Reddit threads, there's the Facebook threads, there's Twitter threads. I mean, I check all that stuff out. You're not seeing anything different. Very rarely, and dig through it, spend a few, somebody go through it and get on there. You're not seeing anything different, and you're seeing most people just not doing it. Or again, taking the path of least resistance. So, it is what it is. It is a nice little snapshot. And for me, why we use the call to arms is because it should give you some ideas. If you're struggling with it, you can go there, you can see what other people did. Obviously, it's not, we don't have the data. We never will. That's the end of the thing. So, at the end of the day, we will never have the data. For some reason, they don't want to share that data. But I would wager a great amount of money. The vast majority of people who play this game are not doing Lufania, full stop.
I agree with that. And the only thing I have to say with is I sort of agree with what Black Cloud is putting out there, but I don't want to give him more of a platform. So, he could talk about it on his ranting hour. But Aurelius, Marcus, there's a lot of divide in chat, and I'm just going to say this. Do a TCC challenge. We only eliminate 3 to 4 characters at a time, and look how much that cuts down the fight. Like the regulars in here, like Scott Ong and Blartanigan or whatever, the regulars who are doing the TCC challenge are saying this is a fucked up fight. Fuck this fight. I agree. I tried this stupid ass fight. I don't want to talk about my fucking attempt, but I've seen you on other streams. I know you've used the super meta comp. If you could do the TCC challenge and then try to come up with opinion, I guarantee you will change your tune. If I guarantee you, if you try every fight without a BT and the synergy characters in the meta, like I guarantee you. But that's enough said on that.
All right. Couple questions. How does Mark? This is Anomander from the Tonberry Troupe. How does Mark say the new character from the Japanese version of the game from Revenant Wings? His name is spelled LLYUD. So the correct pronunciation in English is Lelude. There's 2 L's. Lelude. So that's how you say. Lelude.
I want to take this opportunity to yell at BC because we covered this on his ranting hour, and so I said it was pronounced like LEWD, but apparently different accents and stuff pronounce that differently, right?
Yeah.
Because I pronounced LEWD as lewd. So just like the name, there it implies the Y, the lewd, but he said it lewd.
Yeah, lewd.
And I was like, damn, those are both correct pronunciation.
Yeah.
So I guess that, but it's lewd.
Lelude.
Yeah, it's
That's
lewd.
I thought it was Liud, like
that's
Lee
a
and
name.
then Yud.
It's a Ninjago joke. Lelude.
Wow.
Uh,
So is it Lloyd? Really?
Pikachu. Yeah, no, it's not Lloyd. Who cares? He's not important. Pikachu Games asks, who's banned right now, what's Bartz's favorite ride at the carnival? Arrow, do you know the answer to that question?
I don't know, but I'm ready for a great pun to go with
Yeah, it's
it.
the Ferris wheel. Ferris wheel.
Yeah, okay, I like that. I like that.
That's a long walk. Who
It's a
put
Ferris
that?
wheel. That was Pikachu. That was Pikachu Games.
God damn it, Pikachu! That wasn't even
I was ready.
low
Thank you.
quality. That's low quality. Holy shit!
Yeah, it's the Ferris wheel. 100%. Yeah, makes me think of the Batman thing going around now. Homeless content critic says, what does the Bible say about the beneficial use of hallucinogenic drugs? A whole bunch, actually. So check out quite a few stories in the Old Testament. There's a lot of good things.
K9 word PM'd me, and but I defer to your expertise, right?
Yeah.
And K9 word said the TLDR is prohibited because we are to keep a sober mind, and the use of drugs or drink to inhibit us takes away from being able to focus on Christ. And I said, that's interesting because I thought there was a lot of drinking culture in the Bible, like blood of Christ and, water into wine, etc. And K9 word said, well, social drinking is okay. And that is mostly because back in those days, there was no filter, so wine was safer to drink than water.
Yeah. Wine 2,000 years ago, very different than wine today.
Yeah, wasn't it a lot less alcohol content in that wine a lot of the time as well?
Depends. Yeah, a lot of it would have been watered down. Yeah.
Right. So Mark, you're the actual expert here. Yeah. Please enlighten.
Yeah, there certainly are stories of, if you go into the Hebrew scriptures, certainly stories of, and of course, man, you get into the rabbinic tradition even more so, and early Christian tradition, there are stories of divine seekers using hallucinogenic substances to enhance their divine experiences, ecstasy. I mean, coming from a mystic tradition, obviously there are mystics who have used hallucinogenic drugs to try to enhance their
right. That's what I thought. Right, a lot of religions. I know a lot of Asian cultures. With
the Native American cultures obviously use certain drugs in a lot of their rituals.
Right.
Again, not, it's certainly never needed, but they might enhance certain experiences, ecstatic experiences, especially. I mean, you can think sexuality is the same thing. Any kind of intense experience can enhance certain divine experiences. That being said, what K9 word is referring to is, generally speaking, Paul and to some extent Jesus' admonition against drunkenness and foolishness. Basically, and this is as a United Methodist, which is my tradition, we kind of were responsible for tolerance and prohibition. The idea was that drunkenness was hurting people and hurting others. People were abusing their spouses, abusing their children, wasting their money, wasting their lives. And so when it becomes a thing that's doing harm, that's our whole ethos as a Methodist: do no harm, do good, and attend upon the ordinances of God is our third rule. But do no harm is our first rule. And so, if my drunkenness is doing harm to others, or even myself and my body, then that's a problem.
But it's all right in moderation?
Well, a lot of people would argue, sure, that, Jesus drank, so why not? And then, he turned water into wine at a party. He was having a good time. And it was good shit, too. It wasn't the cheap stuff. It was good quality stuff. And they made a point of saying that specifically. Like, this is really good. And so, sure, I'm certainly not opposed to alcohol or I'm not opposed to any drugs. I would like drugs to be a little bit more
legal.
Control. I'd pretty much like any drug to be legal. Oh, crap. Sorry, I got my headphones out here. Very personally, I think pharmaceutical drugs are a lot more dangerous than a lot of our quote unquote illegal drugs. But yeah, I mean, if you're snorting meth that you bought from somebody out of a trailer, then folks, be careful. Yeah, because you don't. You put poison into your body, it's still going to be poison. And you certainly don't want to have you don't want to have too much sugar. You don't want to eat too much fat. You don't want to, all that kind of stuff. We need to understand that kind of stuff. So, interesting question. We could have a lot more conversation. So let's have
let's take this in the post show. But I just want to say that the inspiration for the question, I think I know who asked that, and it's the fact that I am adamant that the movie Soul is a guy on a drug trip having a midlife crisis, and I refuse to view it any other way.
Well, he is a jazz musician, so yeah.
Out of body experience, meets a bunch of hippies doing drugs. Lots of abstract.
Yeah.
Lots of abstract. That's definitely, whoever wrote it was definitely referencing a drug trip leading to a midlife crisis.
There's the Chronic seems to have been involved in this story.
Mino, are you back as a regular host? I am as I've said before, I'm like Shadow in FF6. I will only join when there's not a full party. Otherwise, I'm too cool for this shit. Mark has to come to me with an empty party slot for me to join up. But sorry, Mark,
true.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, we will go into the post show and you can watch my polls. Again, thank you to Arrow. Check out her Twitch and her YouTube. Thank you to Mino for jumping in. Crease is doing fine. She's been having some headaches. So hopefully, Crease, she will be back with us soon. Thank you to all of our friends. I know Black Nero was here, and Blart was here, and J.A was here, and Jin Lee was here, Pikachu Games, John Belmont, so many other content creators hanging out. Appreciate that. Shout out to the Tonberry Troupe, to Quetzalma at Materia Bot, to DissidiaFFOO. Scott Ong was here as well. Thank you all. This has been episode 156 of the Crystal Chronicles, recorded on the 17th of June, 2021. We'll be back next week with Galuf and Tifa Hype, and be looking forward to that. Until next week, everybody, we will see you then. Good luck on your polls.